Meet the Kawasaki ZX10R, a thoroughbred race machine in road trim. Designed with just one aim in mind: speed. Be fastest off the line, fastest into a corner, fastest out of it, and you guessed it, face-meltingly fast on a straight. Everything on this machine: the engine, the gear ratios, the riding position, the brakes, the electronics, are all tailored for one thing and one thing only: terminal velocity. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have this, the Kawasaki ZX10R. Still a liter class monster, as green as they come, also tricked out with all the electronic wizardry, but built with a very different intent. So if you think about it, even when it comes to sports touring, you're still racing against the clock. You're trying to cover as much distance as you can in the shortest possible time, so then you can spend more time at your favorite getaways. Places like this. And therefore, the key then is not just a powerful motorcycle, but one which specializes in comfort. Because the more comfortable you are in the saddle, that means less fatigue and therefore fewer stops. And that's where the ZX10R really comes into its own. Covers all these bases to the T by offering comfort that can rival your expensive leather couch. Starting with the rider's triangle, you have tall clip-ons and adjustable levers, so the bar and the controls are where your hands and fingers fall naturally. The foot pegs are lower and more front-set compared to the 10R, so you're sitting in a relaxed upright position. The seats are wide, generously padded for the long hauls, and the saddle height at 835 mm is designed to offer a perfect compromise between ample leg room for the tall folks and easy access to the ground for the short ones.
And the same philosophy has come to dictate the character of this 1043cc inline 4 motor as well. Because rather than chasing outright horsepower like its race-bred cousin, the 10R, the torque band on the ZX10R is so fat that it would make a locomotive proud. We are talking 111 Newton meters of torque, 81 of which is available from just 3000 RPM. And when you take that flat torque and mesh it with a closed ratio 6-speed transmission, you have an engine which is as flexible as a chewing gum. You think I'm exaggerating? Well, watch this. I'm in the 6th gear and I'm going to slow down for this rough patch. I'm going to pull the clutch in. Still in the 6th gear, and as I let go, I watch as the engine still pulls cleanly from as low as 1400 RPM. This is both absurd and astonishing at the same time. And it's the same story on an open road, because it doesn't matter how slick the gearbox is, how smooth the quick shifter is, because all you need here is the 6th gear. Any speed, any rev, and the engine will respond with urgency as soon as you open the tap for those quick overtakes. And if you think that even that is a whole lot of work, then you also have cruise control at your disposal. All you gotta do is turn it on, and the bike will chug along at the speed which you set. How cool is that? What's the cruising speed, you ask? Well, that just depends on what you are comfortable with and the kind of road that you have at your disposal. Because in the top gear, there are barely any vibrations. I mean, sure, you can feel the tank tingle around 4000 RPM and then the foot pegs start buzzing as the revs climb, but they lose their sting in the higher gears, and in the 6th gear at 180 km an hour, there are no vibrations. And the reason that you can do these crazy speeds without your face being planted at the back of your head is because of the adjustable windscreen. It does a pretty good job of cocooning you from the wind blast. I mean, there is a bit of buffeting in the topmost setting, but when you slant it a little bit closer towards yourself, it works pretty well. And the other advantage of riding around 140 odd kilometers an hour in the 6th gear on the highway is that even though you're going from state to state, you're still getting a fuel economy of almost 20 kilometers per liter. So that's about 340 odd kilometers range from this 19-liter tank. And to be honest, it doesn't even really go down too much because you can ride along anywhere and everywhere in the 4th gear in the city because the fueling low down is immaculate. But if you live in Maharashtra, it doesn't really matter, does it, what direction you go? You're bound to hit the mountains at some point or the other. But on a Ninja, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to slow down. If anything, this might actually put a grin on your face and also have you scratching your helmet wondering how on earth can this 238 kg monster feel so intuitive, so neutral in corners. I mean, they call it a Ninja for a reason. And despite sharing the 1440 mm wheelbase with the 10R, this one actually has a sharper rake and trail, which makes it surprisingly fluid in corners. It really rewards nice flowing lines. You don't need to muscle it into submission. And dude, you are actually carrying some really good cornering speed, as much as these front set foot pegs will allow, knowing that you have a really good braking system on hand which offers really good feel, really good feedback, and also cornering ABS to boot. And then you have fully adjustable suspension to smoothen out the bumpy roads as well. You have 120 mm of travel at the front, 144 at the back, which you can refine even further because the front is completely adjustable and the rear comes with adjustable rebound and preload adjustability, which you can do with this remote adjuster. Love the convenience that this adjuster brings to the table. What will slow you down is a view like that, and of course the limited ground clearance. You only have 135 mm of ground clearance at your disposal, and I found myself grazing the top of every single tall speed breaker. So the only way I could get around the problem was to bump up the preload to 24 clicks out of 40 when I was riding solo, and all the way to 30 when I was riding with the pillion, which is of course not ideal because you're sacrificing a lot of suspension travel for the ground clearance. And then when you do slow down, the next thing you notice is the heat. The temperature, the engine temperature is hovering in the 80s even in the city, which is great. And then when it hits 100-degree mark in stop-go traffic, then the radiator fan kicks in and starts diverting all the heat straight onto your legs. So it can get really, really hot. So that needs to be looked into. In terms of comfort, this is fantastic for the rider as well as the pillion, but you'll definitely get a little more brownie points from your better half if the seat cover was fit a little more snug. Because right now, if you can see, there's a lot of play in it. So it's almost impossible for the pillion not to slip and slide when you're getting on the brakes. The quick shifter works great, but I think the blipper needs work. It's not half as slick as the quick shifter.
and requires a lot more effort to engage, and when it does so with a jerk. And as we are nitpicking, I also really hate the riding modes menu and how it's not cyclic. So if you want to go from the last riding mode, which is rider, and you want to go back to the first mode, which is sports, you have to actually scroll all the way up. That's really a bummer, because also in terms of the system, it's not really the fastest one out there. It takes a lot of time to even switch from one mode onto the next. And even though this gets Bluetooth connectivity, it doesn't get turn-by-turn navigation, which I think is a surprising miss for a motorcycle, an accomplished motorcycle like this one. There, I've said it. And man, it feels good to get all of that out, because otherwise the Ninja 1000 SX is an absolute nightmare for us automotive journalists, because it's so hard to fall. Such a good motorcycle, and of course its 12.8 lakh rupee price tag doesn't help either, because that's an awful lot of bike and tech for the money. Sometimes, as they say, you have to give credit where it's due, and no one smashes the nail bang on its head when it comes to sports touring in this category or the next, as well as the Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX.